returned by the capital, summoned by the Queen for an interview. You became the official court. Wow. You became the official court wizard for the Queen. You moved into the royal palace. Spymaster Dole reported that the neighbors' airships were spotted near the negative sea, confirming your earlier fears. The Queen asked you to determine in what ways the kingdom should adopt magic to stay competitive with the Magisterians. Blessed Sam became Blessed Advisor Sam when you arrived at court. You recommended using negative energy as the main way to power the kingdom's industry and military. You suggested the Queen use divination magic to stay in close touch with her people. Your power plants and factories came online without a problem. You encountered the milliner you met earlier, selling hats in the capital. You learned from a book that negative burn and rot cancel each other out. Vance started a magic academy. You convinced Vance to shut down the academy. Koss revealed a penchant for piloting. You created a divination-based broadcasting system for entertainers, but did not teach the entertainers glamours. Koss proposed. You accepted. While you were visiting your mother, a Magisterian airship attacked. Your mother's house was destroyed by a Magisterian bombardment. And you told the Queen you would try to negotiate for peace.
Yeah? That about covers it.
They're so subtle and charismatic. Which is weird that we're charismatic. Not that we're subtle.
I mean...
People just like me, I guess.
I'd say that Magus is pretty charismatic. Just, you know, about the forces of darkness and... and, whatnot. Mantel hates us. Almost as much as the church. Man, the people hate us. But not as much as they once did.
We do have TV now, and that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Plus, we are successfully making a war seem less hopeless. So people appreciate that. Alright, well, let's get started. I see somebody is the lizard who is here, so...
Oh, the lizard.
Seated at the helm of one of your new airships, you grasp the armrests and let your consciousness spread through the whole ship. You feel the ground beneath your two landing skids, the breeze across your deck, the sheer vulnerability of traveling to the Magisterian Empire unarmed. That's cool. That's what we're here for. You will the airship to lift off, and Ackerton falls away before you. You rise steadily, seeking to ascend even higher than the reach of the negative sea. Oh, does this make me wish we'd gone flying together more? Koss's voice is as low in your head as it must sound to himself in his head. Perhaps when this is over. You can see his own airship rising alongside you. When the Queen asked whether you would like anyone to escort you on your diplomatic mission, you chose Koss, the best pilot you know. Maintaining divination-powered links with Koss in the airship isn't easy, but you are an experienced diviner now. Of course, that trip when I had proposed is a tough act to follow. You share with Koss the pleasant memories of the day he proposed, and find that the link between you strengthens the memory with the details you would have forgotten. Because that's all they do. They have energy, they eat, they poop, and then they forget the other two. You crest the negative sea and see the ocean of black stretched out before you to the horizon. Dark thunderclouds skate along the surface of the negative sea, the dark gray fog not nearly so otherworldly yet as the black and purple miasma beneath. Still higher storm clouds thunder and strike the negative sea with lightning, scattering electricity through the dark cloud in an uneven burst. It reminds you of the last time you flew close to the negative sea, returning from the sunken academy. Of course, then you never flew so high. Hard to believe that was little more than a year ago. You cast your consciousness down to catch a glimpse of Acroton, but the town is just a tiny puzzle of buildings far below. I'll take point, Koss communicates to you. I think I'm the more experienced pilot of us. You can't argue with that.
Alright, good luck.
Koss deftly navigates the storm clouds with his airship, leaving you to marvel at Koss's piloting skills, his rolls and quick turns. Did Koss finally find a hobby he could really concentrate on? At any rate, you struggle to keep up with them. A divination would have been so much easier, you think, but the Magisterians seem to have put some kind of defense against scrying in response to the skirmish in Acroton, so your diplomacy will have to be in person. After a few hours of darting between thunderheads, you emerge on the other side, the first diplomat from Irenia in 2,000 years to visit the Magisterian Empire. The only immediate difference you can see is that the green fields and vineyards are tended by rusty automata instead of people. The ever-present storm clouds above are familiar from your side of the negative sea, as are the mountains to the north and far to the south. I see some dark trails in the clouds. That are the kind that airships leave. Koss thinks at you. They're thickest to the east. What Koss says makes sense from the theoretical point of view, and he has the experience to recognize the trails.
Lead on.
As you head east, you encounter a pair of Magisterian airships on the horizon. They contact you with a divination that sounds blasted from inside your skull. Kavu Imperiosa! You struggle to understand the language that diverged from your own 2,000 years ago. What? Oh.
Oh, what is your business? Yeah, it's my thoughts, so sure. We're on a diplomatic mission.
Hi, Agent.
You
shout. Bracing yourself for the next blaring message, you sense Koss's headache as well.
We seek peace.
There is a moment's pause. You think some kind of conference must be taking place. Just when you wonder whether you've lost your magical connection, the voice blares in your mind again. Serons en magie en vous! You.
I think they want just me.
You think to Koss? Well, you're a popular fellow. Despite the flip comment, you can feel Koss's unease.
I think it might be the only way.
You say?
If I'm not back in 3 days, send in the cavalry.
Koss turns his airship around. Well, everybody back in Acroton is counting on you, Koss thinks. Stay safe. I love you.
I love you too.
Koss departs, leaving you to proceed to the Magisterian capital with your 2 escorts. As you fly over the Magisterian capital of Phaedra, you feel a sense of wonder at their enormous city. It stretches out as far as you can see in all directions. How many Edras could fit in it? 15? 20? The sinuous architecture speaks of an advanced civilization that could easily use magic to shape the world around it. Your excellent view is not from any normal vantage point, but through one of the mirrors in the Magisterian vessel that you picked up. The airship contains 5 Magisterian soldiers, each wearing black armor and a gray cape. Around the interior of the vessel are mirrors showing different views of the outside world, although you gather these need not be from the point of view of the ship itself. The soldiers keep a wary eye on you, but don't try to engage you in conversation. You ask a few questions, but get no responses. Thanks to your study of the ancient tongue that your language had as a common ancestor, you can more or less figure out what they're saying to each other, but it's mostly uninteresting orders of the kind you might hear on any ship, or at least any ship that was flying and had magic mirrors. You try asking questions in the ancient tongue to see whether they understand you, but the soldiers just laugh. Finally, the ship sets down on the roof of the Magisterian Palace. Most of the crew stays with the ship, but 2 halberd-bearing soldiers prod you out the door and towards an archway that leads to the palace proper. As long as your hands aren't bound, it doesn't count as being captured, you think, cheerily. The soldiers finally escort you to a grand amphitheater-like chamber with tiered seats in a semicircle, occupied by a variety of silver-haired men and women. Many of them look oddly young despite their gray hair, but some are quite old and wizened. But they each wear a red sash that must signify some kind of official position. The room is kept somewhat dark. Feeble magical lights shine from a chandelier above. A red carpet extends from where you stand to a circular dais in the center of the chamber. There, an unusually tall and lanky man, over 7 feet tall, awaits you with his arms clasped behind his back. The man's snub nose and grave expression suggest an imperious and disapproving air. Like the seated officials, his hair is gray, and his face suggests he's in his 50s. He wears a black uniform with gold epaulets and gold sash indicating his office. You recall reading about the Magisterian government. It is a republic, and you think this must be the Senate. The High Magister was once the judge of the highest court in the land, but you think over time this grew to be a position more like that of a ruler. Soldiers to either side of you escort you up to the center of the chamber, where the High Magister awaits. So, Royal Sorcerer Vex, the High Magister says. There's something strange about the way he speaks, though you can't quite put your finger on it. We've heard so much about you. Care to tell us what you are doing on our side of the negative sea? I am
on a diplomatic mission.
You say? A diplomatic mission, the High Magister says. Perhaps. Although, that is what a spy would say as well. The High Magister turns to the Senate and says something in Magisterian. Because it's similar to the ancient tongue, you can tell that he's relating your conversation so far to the Senate. You now realize what was strange about the High Magister's speech. The movements of his lips didn't match the words you heard. There must be some divination spell that allows you to understand each other even though you're speaking different languages. We've noticed your astonishing rise to power, the High Magister says to you. It is most unusual. How did you come to have such magic? I just discovered some books in an ancient library. I'm a saint, a chosen of Abraxas who casts miracles in his name. I believe I am a chosen one, destined to save the kingdom. I'm just talented, I suppose. Sorry. I just discovered some books in an ancient library. I'm a saint, a chosen of Abraxas who casts miracles in his name. I believe I am a chosen one, destined to save the kingdom. I'm just talented, I suppose. What do we think?
Don't think we'd claim we're a saint. Even if we were lying, that's not how we'd lie. The true answer is we discovered some books in an ancient... Well, no, we kind of knew about magic before the story started, didn't we? Kind of.
Conceptually,
we didn't
yes. We didn't have any spells, but...
The story started with us getting into an ancient library that we'd been researching and then finally, dug our way down to and researched where it was.
By accident.
We were looking for it, right?
I mean, we were looking for it, but that's not what brought us there. What brought us there was helping Tal on a monster hunt that ended up going after a dodecapede that dug its way all the way into the ground, and it popped you out where where the academy had long since been sunk. So, Tal, our friend who hates us, is why we're here.
Mm-hmm. We could start honest. Trying to be honest. That's what I'm voting for.
Do you remember anything else about the Academy?
That is totally destroyed.
Well, now, yeah. But, like, conceptually before that.
I don't remember what you're trying to get at, I don't think.
Anything at all. Do you remember anything about the Academy?
That it was an academy from before the war with the first war with the neighbors. And that they studied all the different.
Why was it
things.
underground?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't know that I know.
You do. But regardless...
Well, Maid's voting that we invent professional wrestling and then do a bit within it.
Yeah, no, Maid and Jason are not being particularly helpful. Gaten says to mind freak them, and Maid says to invent wrestling.
Specifically, Maid says we should claim we're a saint while T-posing like Jesus Christ with our head tilted and our long hair covering our face with our leather jacket covering our 9-inch nail shirt like Raven from ECW, and then we have to turn the Sandman's wife and child against him and then crucify Sandman, then be forced to issue an apology to the audience in the ECW arena for taking the angle too far.
Yeah.
Why would you assume you don't have a vote?
Oh, it looks like Agent did at one point say, I vote books, I guess. Alright, that's 2 for books. The High Magister suddenly looks very interested. Where? Give him the correct location of the Sunken Academy? Give him a fake location for the Sunken Academy? Refuse to answer.
Refuse to answer.
Refuse to answer.
That's not relevant to our conversation.
Maid says, fake location. I won't do that every time, Gagent. Sometimes I might just decide to assign a vote to you. Do our cheeks get slightly larger as the pout continues, Maid? Gagent says, oh fine, 3. You don't reply to the High Magister. Perhaps you're telling the truth if you're so afraid of revealing where you've learned your magic, the High Magister says. Well, a bit of digging through our ancient records might turn up something. We may have our spoils of war yet. You do find it interesting that the Ancient Academy apparently might contain secrets that were lost to the Magisterians as well, if they ever knew them in the first place. Who was the more advanced civilization back then? Our spies tell us that you've begun to build factories all around your kingdom that draw their power from the dark sun itself, the High Magister says. Why so reckless? Why so sudden? Do you not understand that such magic threatens to get out of hand and destroy you, and perhaps us as well? We were just trying to defend ourselves. From you! I want to bring back the wonders of the ancients. We saw your scout ships and wanted to create our own wonders.
understand it's a tough choice, but they must suffer so that our empire may live.
I don't
think
do
we
it because I wish for it. I only go along with it, but because it must be done. Gaijin says
Yeah,
one.
I also say one.
The High Magister appears to translate for the benefit of the Senate. You don't speak Magisterian perfectly, but from what you can tell, it sounds like he's claiming that Irenia wishes to be as strong as the Magisterian Empire, leaving out the part about self-defense. Their murmurs sound disapproving. A small... Thanks, mate. It's not the first time that's been brought up, I think. A small kingdom such as yours would need unacceptable levels of magic to truly contend with our power, the High Magister says. Surely, it would be better for the world if such a build-up were unnecessary. If you were part of the Empire. Who else uses magic in your kingdom? The High Magister asks. We've had conflicting reports. Our Saints and Hierophant use miracles, but that's different. Our Saints and Hierophant all use magic. I have an apprentice. Ackerton's fortune teller knows magic now. I can't think of anyone who can use magic.
Well, here's my apprentice who lives on 123 Dead Street.
I mean, your apprentice is Vance, if you recall.
I
would think that you'd be less reluctant to...
That's true. He is all. I mean, the fortune teller's still kind of our apprentice. Also. Just haven't spent a lot of time together because I've been busy making a bunch of death factories.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be clear. They don't manufacture death. It's just like I use the evil death magic to make them make things.
Because as you said, the evil death magic is not inherently evil.
Mm-hmm.
Which is probably true. I mean, it really does say more about the people who are harnessing it that they only ever use it to, like, blast things.
Do we want to make ourselves look strong and say that, you know, our whole church is magical? Or do we want to just be like, oh, well, I have an apprentice, but that's it? I have an apprentice.
An apprentice! The High Magister seems amused. And when he relates your news to the Senate, they chuckle as well. Well, now that there are two of you, we are truly terrified. You see how it is. They're assessing the viability of invading your kingdom.
Should've chosen the other one. Oh well.
Very well. Who else knows magic
okay.
in your kingdom?
Then yeah, our Saints and Hierophant all use magic. Yeah, actually, I don't. Yeah.
Okay.
In this moment, I am euphoric, not because of any phony god's blessing, but because I am enlightened by my intelligence.
Gaijin says God is dead because I killed him with my intellect.
I mean, I also think 3 is just true. I don't think we care about religion very much, other than being like, the church shouldn't be telling everyone magic is bad. That's our main religious belief. I like magic.
Don't know much about religion, the High Magister says with derision. What? Are you saying we know the values of your people better than you? What kind of irresponsible twit are you?
What kind of diplomat are you?
You counter. But then the High Magister nods to the guards next to you, and they pin your arms behind your back before he can react. You feel rope being wound around your wrist. Perhaps you can find some religion in our dungeon, the High Magister suggests. Now excuse us! We must discuss whether we intend to bring some responsibility to your savage kingdom. Oops. The Magisterian soldiers escort you to the subterranean corridor made from the red-flecked dark marble, lined with cells on either side that are protected by opaque black curtains of negation magic. You recall stories of the obsidian used to construct this place. You think the ancients used it to imprison wizards since it contained enough power of the dark sun to negate any spell. The guards have sadly confiscated all your equipment, and you have little idea where it is now. At least you managed to conceal the existence of your ring of stealth, since it naturally blends in with the rest of your body. At least the guards allow you to keep wearing your black robes. Lost charisma, lost vivimancy, lost negation. Each cell has a pad with a handprint next to its curtain, and when the soldier touches it, it crackles with automation magic. Your new cell is made of pure obsidian. A white, bearded old man in a tattered, once fine tunic looks up at you in despair. The guards shove you inside and reactivate the curtain of negation. Now you can barely see the old man, as the only light is the soft purple glow of the negation curtain. You find that you can sear off your bonds fairly easily by holding them close enough to the negation curtain, but every spell you try to cast does nothing. Not to say, the old man says miserably. Option interdice magere. Don't try. Obsidian blocks magic. What's your name? What's your profession? What were you convicted of? How long have you been here? It turns out that, well, Gag Agent made it turns out that the Magisterian Empire feels about the same way as we all do as somebody who says religion. I don't believe in that. Wow, you're obnoxious and annoying. Get in our dungeon, I hate you. And I can do that, because I got a dungeon, and you're just a shitty little kid. Gage, where are they?
What's your name?
What's your name? The old man blinks in surprise. You dicere comme ancien? You speak like the ancients. Mais dia fortent.
But different, yes.
You say. Different. The old man seems to take some small pleasure in how this word feels. But different. You glance at the negation curtain. Speaking the language of the ancients, you suggest learning each other's languages. The old man blinks away tears and nods. I put util an amica filo ante ma morte. I could use a friend before I die. Days pass, and you and the old man try to learn each other's languages. He's quite intelligent and learns your language rapidly, though he can't make that much progress in only a few days. Your knowledge of the ancient's language helps you keep up with him, and your shared excitement at learning languages together helps keep your spirits up. Increased empathy. Food comes twice a day, unpredictably shoved into the cell, only to have the energy curtain return immediately. Both meals consist of a mashed tuber, some unfamiliar green stalks, and a cup of water. At least the water's recognizable. After a few days, you feel ready to try your questions on the old man again. Your knowledge of his language isn't perfect, but you learned how to ask basic questions in the present tense along with the basic pleasantries the old man considered essential.
Kavunomia. Nomina. Sorry, it's really hard to speak the Latin while also doing the voice for some reason. My brain just refused. Kavunomina?
You begin.
What is your name?
Espar, the old man says, means hope. He smiles humorlessly. Kavu profess, what's your profession? Kavu offendakima, what's your offense? Kavu subsista edere? How long are you staying here?
What are you in for?
Cajun says profession, you say offense.
I'm fine with profession too, honestly. I was relatively split. I mostly went for offense because I like the idea of asking, what are you in for?
Maid says 2. So I don't know what to make of that now that you've gone all wishy-washy and said that 1 is also fine.
Well, it's stronger on 2, so 2.
2. Magere, Espar says. Frank, be like Batman and take a stand. Like you. He pantomimes casting a spell.
Magari est illegal edere?
You say, pantomiming a spell, being interrupted by a stern grip. Not for magisterians. Surprised, you say.
I thought you were all magisterians. Nah, Eberdin Magisterian?
The old man chuckles humorously. Ah, when you say, learn magisterian, I misunderstand. I think you want to talk great. No, magisterian is our word for Fortunas people, like old nobilia, but not by family. Powerful impora, but also antigladi. He makes a sword-swinging motion. The Magister's favorites, Magisterians, those who can use magere.
Why magere only for those empora and antigladi?
You say, puzzled. Magere is for those who... Stipendi, he says, making a motion of doling out money. Too much for me. Too much for most. And antigladi. They say it keeps the world happy. Only magic for those who serve the Magister best.
And you?
Cannot contendi compete with no magere, he says with a shrug. Magisterians have magere. I need magere. All Emperor do it. Supetier.
Subtly?
You say, trying to look sneaky.
Or underground?
You point down. Both, maybe? He sighs. So all can be put here if a magisterian wishes.
Well, their profession, I think.
Likely story, but I'll allow it. Imperios, he says, shrugging, because it's a word you didn't cover. Probably not an emperor, you think. Empire, emporium.
You're a merchant.
you declare. Espar looks excited. Yes, Marcanta, merchant, not Fortunas. Lucky, rich, may... happy.
Kavu subsita edere?
How long are you stay here? You managed in your broken magisterian, you think. Espar looks sad. Soon.
What do you mean?
You ask?
Will you be free, or...
Espar shakes his head and curls up into a ball, head on his knees. He sobs softly. You could say something to cheer up the old man.
No, I can't.
Actually, you can't, because you are miserable.
How can I cheer him up when I know everything is darkness?
You don't
The
really see the
truth
point
is-
of cheering up the old man. He's destined to die, and there's little you can do to change that. For a while, the only sound in the darkness is the old man's sobs.
Sorry, old man. We're just also really miserable.
A few more days pass in which you and Espar teach each other more of each other's languages. You also learn a little more about the Magisterians. Interestingly, Espar has never heard of glamour magic before. You think it has been forgotten on this side of the Negative Sea. You learn that the Magisterians call your people the Reckless, and until recently, most Magisterians thought they blew themselves up during the Great War. You learn that the Magisterian word for someone who is not a noble person is a plebeian, and that their word for their people in general is the electi, or chosen. Disliking the connotations of that term, you decide to go back to calling them all Magisterians, even if technically it only applies to their nobles. Then, one day, the negation curtain rises to reveal guards in black armor. Hanging from their belts are both scabbarded swords and black wands. Their hands are exposed, perhaps to improve the flow of energy to their wands. You and Espar both rise. Time to go, one of the guards says to Espar and Magisterian. The dejected Espar meekly goes along with them. All the fight seems to have drained out of him. The curtain of negative energy is up again soon enough. Maybe you should have said something. It's too late now. You spend 3 more days in your dark cell, alone with your thoughts. Is this the end? You don't think so, but you're having trouble imagining your escape now in this world of anti-magic rooms and guards with wands. Finally, a group of guards deactivates the negation curtain and binds your arms again. Magister Magni disere-vous antifortunas, one of the guards tells you. Fata morti! You try to parse some of the unfamiliar words.
Your unlucky fortune, doing death.
Execution.
Your mate's right. Maybe we should have said a nice thing to this old man before he's executed instead of just sitting next to him while he just sobbed, but we were too busy thinking about Bauhaus lyrics.
You stand near the center of a bowl-shaped stadium where thousands of people have gathered to watch your demise. The stadium lies in the shadow of a giant mirror at the center of the city, which displays one magisterian crest after another. The mood of the crowd appears to be curious instead of bloodthirsty, if that's any consolation. They're mostly plebeians, but some magisterians have come to watch on personal thrones that render the seats behind them useless. There's a long walk ahead of you to the headsman, a man wearing brightly colored motley and a contrasting black mask. He bears an enormous axe that would be impractical for any real battle, designed no doubt to be seen from even the worst seats. There are any number of ways that magic could make you die subtly or painlessly, but that is apparently not the point. A huge chunk of obsidian forms the stage for this macabre man, his chopping block, and his bucket. Behind you and to your sides are your 3 grim escorts, armed with large halberds that themselves seem somewhat ceremonial. You have noticed on the way here that their black helmets are themselves adorned with magisterian crests, but you don't know whether this suggests their affiliation or if some magisterian has bought advertising on their heads. There's still much you don't know about the neighbors. The path to the headman's block is paved with obsidian, shutting you off from the dark sun and probably weakening other magics as well. With your hands bound, its effectiveness is moot. The guard prods you forward. Well, we could try to grow despondent, or try to walk bravely. Except we can't, because we're a little piss baby, so... You try to wriggle free from your bonds. When you get your wrist free, you feel that you'll never have an opportunity as good as the present one, so you so close to the entrance of the arena. You spin around and dash out of the arena, provoking surprise shouts from the guards and a roar from the crowd. Rounding a corner, you get down low, taking advantage of the Magisterian Streets crowd for cover. You can hear the guards' confused shouts behind you. You waste no time in stealing the nearest airship skiff and willing it to take off. Bolts of negative energy whiz past you, but you maneuver the skiff over the city walls. As you watch the capital recede behind you, you breathe a sigh of relief. Finally, you're heading home.
That was too...
Maid, being a piss baby sometimes works.
But this is just gonna be like that one scene from Wolfenstein 2, where we wake up and it was a dream.
Is this a death dream?
Yeah, and then we actually are executed, but then other stuff happens.
As you fly over the negative sea on the way home, you can't help but notice it seems unwell? It's odd to think that a roiling cloud of death could have a temperament, but something about it seems a little off. You hope it's nothing. Unfortunately, you return to the capital to discover that the Magisterians have declared war, and have already made significant progress toward the heart of the kingdom. Akroton has been conquered, and Mayor Koss has led the refugees to Edra. The Queen's strategy at this point is purely defensive, but she has had little luck fighting off the Magisterians thus far. Sam informs you that he prayed for your safety every day. Vance nearly bursts into tears as he tells you just how worried he was.
Oh my god.
Koss seems sleepless and frazzled because of Akroton's fate, but he still seems glad to see you. Your kiss seems to bring some vigor back to him. Not wanting to waste any more time, you suggest to Koss that you have your that you have your wedding sooner rather than later. Koss fervently agrees. Midsummer, as the Magisterians press farther and farther into your kingdom, there is a brief interlude of sweetness as you marry Koss. Your marriage to Koss takes place in the Akroton refugee camps. Of course it does. Despite everyone's displacement, they've nevertheless managed to make the grounds festive, with colorful streamers made from tablecloths that were just sitting in chests otherwise. Your officiant is Outrider Zed, a longtime friend of Koss's. Your reasoning process was a bit oblique. You both wished Tal were there to officiate, but with her gone, you settled on someone who vaguely reminded you of Tal. Honestly, now that the day has come, you're not completely sure Zed has any speaking ability. So you're getting married, Outrider Zed says. The weather-beaten man scratches his head, as if it didn't occur to him to come up with words ahead of time. Well, not exactly a man of many words. You can see in the audience that your mother, dressed in her church best, is nearly dying with the indignity of this unconventional wedding. But your father seems quietly amused. You catch sight of Sam's face in the audience, though for once he's not wearing any ecclesiastical garb at all. Just a very plain brown tunic. He seems a bit afraid of being seen at this very secular wedding. But at least he came. You also see Vance in the audience, all clad in black, as usual. He seems to be... heartbroken? You.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
You think.
He was into me this whole time? Jesus.
Oh my god.
Kid.
Outrider Zed shrugs.
I've shown you nothing but hostility. Actually, I've shown you nothing but disinterest.
Yeah, that makes you hotter.
Fuck, I guess it does.
Outrider Zed shrugs. Let's just do this thing. Cause, you wanna marry Vex? With all my heart, he says. Great. Vex, you gonna marry Cause?
Yep. I mean, yes.
You say, nearly drawn into Outrider Zed's casual diction. Okay then, you're married. You and Koss exchange a happy kiss, and the cheer goes up through the whole camp. The next year sees a string of successes for the Queen's forces as they push the Magisterians back towards the negative sea. The Magisterian airships are no match for your agile airships, which swarm the Magisterian dreadnoughts and fire away with their railguns until all that is left is a crewless husk floating in midair. Tremors throughout the kingdom intensify until finally one of the Crown Mountains erupts in a geyser of black and purple negative energy, completely obliterating some of the nearby hamlets and throwing purple and black gas into the sky. The mountain then goes dormant again. Brave explorers peering down into the caldera report that they think they can see the dark sun itself, roiling far below. You are there in the throne room when a courier delivers this news to Queen Thekla. She pales, then waves the courier away. The other courtiers of the throne room continue to blather at each other, oblivious. I wonder what we've done, Queen Thekla murmurs. I can't blame you entirely, Royal Sorcerer Vex. I have been complicit as well. I've been teaching myself negation magic to protect against assassination attempts. Indeed, the Queen's practice at the Royal Archer's target range is an open secret. The Queen's targets are scarecrows at 30 yards, hastily constructed because they are always consumed utterly by her blasts. We've both done what was needed for the kingdom's protection. This is my fault. I shouldn't have embraced negation magic. I await your orders as always, my queen. Checking back at, I feel like we fucked up the diplomatic mission, says Secret Agent 69. You think?
Oh, Maid. It's very mean, but they deserve it. Maid's quoting someone specific.
Oh, Who?
Not someone from a different group entirely, who Maid has told me about.
Oh, okay.
Not someone we know, to be clear.
I don't think it was. I think it was fine. What is our choice?
Gosh, I'm torn between all of them, honestly. Probably. What choice did I have but to embrace it? But I still shouldn't have embraced it, but I also had no choice.
Gaten says, Maid says, I feel Batman would say one, but I don't know how Batman we are.
If we're not, like, the most Batman.
No, we're Sasuke.
I think you're right that we're definitely Sasuke. I think we're Sorry Cop, basically. We're Sorry Cop and Apocalypse Cop.
Queen Thekla looks you over, as if evaluating how much you are to blame, and she sighs heavily. No, that's ridiculous, she says finally. You're under my direct command. I could have executed you or banished you, and instead I kept you close. This is my responsibility. She averts her eyes. I must have some time to think. Good day. The Queen gets up and leaves the throne room. You'd think she appreciated your gesture regardless. Increased Thekla relationship. Increased empathy. This doesn't appear to be... Nothing, I'm just checking out. The track that it moved to didn't seem to be working.
Oh, okay.
You hoped after that the tremors will stop. But they don't. And every month after that, a new mountain erupts into a volcano of negative energy, destroying any nearby towns and hamlets. The Dark Sun is not well. Your research turns up some mentions of such disasters in the time of the Ancients, especially near the end of the Great War. But the Ancients, it seems, had ways of mitigating the impact of their weapons. You know of no such methods. The knowledge has been lost. Who knows how bad these disasters may get? As the war progresses, you begin to hear rumors that amateurs are beginning to practice magic across the kingdom. But you have no idea how bad it is until Mayor Koss comes to the court to report on what has been happening in Ackerton. It's gotten rather out of hand, Koss reports to the Queen. People I never would have expected to be capable of it are now using magic, and not particularly good ends. It seems people are always in each other's business now that they've discovered divination magic. I think they must have learned it by watching the rituals used for broadcasting musicians across the kingdom.
They learned it from watching you!
Now everybody knows too much about each other, and that's quite a recipe for trouble. People just aren't used to seeing each other's dirty laundry like that, you know? In short, Ackerton could use your help, Koss concludes. I can hardly blame my people for trying to learn magic. I've tried to learn it myself, though I've discovered I have no aptitude for it. But we need some kind of plan that will get them to use it more responsibly. I knew this day would come, Blessed Advisor Sam says sadly. He looks to you. I suppose I should have pressed you a bit more to hold back, my friend. The Queen sighs. It would seem I am once again beholden to your judgment, Royal Sorcerer Vex. Do you have any sage advice? How do you get a fledgling wizard to desist? Support the Church's message that magic is only for the holy. Establish magic schools around the kingdom to teach people to use magic responsibly. Make it illegal to practice magic without the consent of the Queen. Interference will only make things worse. People should figure this out for themselves.
Magic schools. I think? Let me think about that for a second. Definitely not one. I mean, 1 and 3 seem very not good.
Let me read it properly. I'm sorry. Support the Church's message that magic is only for the holy. Establish magic schools around the kingdom to teach people to use magic responsibly. Make it illegal to practice magic without the consent of the Queen. Interference will only make things worse. People should figure this out themselves. If only I could just absorb all the magic into my body and die for them.
I think original us would have said 4, but I think growth. Maybe we don't think that anymore. Maybe we're like, the only way is to teach them to do it responsibly. We can't undo the spread of magic.
You tell Mayor Koss and Queen Thekla?
But what we can do is try to educate them to prevent them from killing themselves.
More magic? Blessed Advisor Sam says, distressed. If you think that's best, Mayor Koss says uncertainly. I admit, it may have seemed uncharitable of the Crown not to share its magic a bit more, Queen Thekla says. Perhaps our citizens will come up with some novel innovations that make life better for everyone. You travel from town to town trying to teach the brightest citizens of each region how to teach magic themselves. You usually find at least one person in each region who is genuinely enthusiastic and motivated about magic, and you focus on teaching that person so that they can in turn teach others. But when you sit in on your new teacher's first classes, you find most people see magic as an imposition on their normal way of life, just one more way in which they must catch up with all their neighbors or fall behind. Studying magic, for these students, is a chore. You can also tell some of these students are wondering what the point of learning about the magical esoterica is when there's a war going on, especially when that magic isn't useful for fighting. And to some extent, they're right. This educational push will take time and resources away from the war. Lost kingdom power. You expect to hear complaints from Hierophant Elizabeth about your decision, but instead, there is a silence that speaks volumes. In the capital, you chose Vance to be the head of the new Magic Academy. But I'm not old enough to be a professor, Vance protests when you informed him over dinner at a nice restaurant. You stifle a grin.
To them, you will probably seem ancient. Most teachers start in early 20s. That's you now.
As it sinks in, Vance nods. I'll try to do right by you. Increased Vance relationship. As the people learn about magic, they do become more careful with it. Many didn't realize that divination reveals information to those spied upon. People certainly become more reluctant to use the magic after that. At least the people appreciate these warnings. Increased adoration. Unfortunately, you think this has no effect on the bigger crisis facing you. The common people aren't responsible for the major disturbances in the Dark Sun. You have a sinking feeling something terrible is about to happen.
Whoops.
Get out now! The voice of Seer Mary makes you jump in your chair. By candlelight, you had been studying an old tome of negation that a noble family gave you to try to curry favor with you, gain negation. You retreated to one of the tower's solaria to read it, although by now the skylight above you is dark. Seer Mary must be using divination magic you taught her to communicate with her.
What? Why?
You ask, bewildered. You look out the window of your study, unsure what time it is. Night, apparently. The Dark Sun is awakening. Please, get out! The palace is going to be destroyed! Get out! Get out! Get out! The Dark Sun awakens. What
about Koss?
You ask.
What about Thekla? What about Sam?
You have time to contact one person, but then... GET OUT! I will try to save Thekla. I will try to save Koss. I will try to save Sam.
Koss?
You cast a divination to find Koss. You see him in the garden of the palace courtyard, sketching one of the rare ferns by the light of a lantern.
Koss, get out of there!
You say via divination.
The palace is about to be destroyed.
What? Koss stands abruptly, dropping his pen and scroll. You sense concerned murmurs from the guards and courtiers hovering around the edges of the courtyard.
The Dark Sun has become destabilized because of all our negation magic. Don't ask me how I know, but you need to get out of the palace, now!
Koss's eyes widen. He raises his voice. Everybody, out! Out!
There's no time for that!
Everybody out! Please! It seems like people are listening to Koss, but milling towards the exit in a herd-like fashion. You don't have time to convince Koss not to worry about the others. You're not sure that you could. You end the divination. Taking Seer Mary at her word, you cast a spell to sprout wings.
Ivana Aroba Valenta Pluma.
And dive out the window. You land in the street in front of the palace just in time to run into Koss, also emerging from the palace. Behind him, a throng of people is exiting the palace, and he's trying to conduct them all. Quick, quick, quick! Out, out, out! Just then, a giant geyser of negative energy erupts behind you, completely consuming the palace. The giant column of negative energy, swirling with black and purple tendrils, stands twice as tall as the palace did, and glows eerily in the night. You and Koss run and take shelter from the goblets of negative energy raining down from above. Of the crowd that had been following Koss, only a handful survived to run away. Most were consumed in the negative energy geyser. Stunned, Koss falls to his knees and hangs his head in bitter grief. You suppose Queen Thekla must have been in the palace too. At least she was spared the horror of seeing all her faithful palace servants obliterated. You briefly wonder what Thekla's life would have been like without you. She would still be a queen of a kingdom that had been mostly stable for thousands of years. Would still be the single most powerful individual on this side of the negative sea. She never could have suspected that you would prove to be her ultimate vulnerability. But then you think of the neighbors' airships. Now they may well have conquered the kingdom already, were it not for your intervention. No, you can't wish you and Thekla had never met, but you do wish it hadn't ended this way. You suppose Blessed Advisor Sam must also have perished in the geyser. Surely if his Abraxas does exist, he's one twisted deity. How do you feel at this result of your meddling with negation magic? I'm a fool. Why did I think dark magic had no consequences? I just feel immensely sad. So many dead in that palace. Everyone will blame me for this. But it's the war's fault. This is tragic. But I also feel something new is coming. Why did I marry someone with so many empathy points?
I mean, like, this is tragic, but I feel something new is coming. Feels like we are just going full apocalypse prophet.
I mean, we have been Sasukeing it up this whole time. I don't know what made you think that we'd be any different now.
Maybe something good can come from evil, after all. But I think it... Yeah, I don't know. 4. Maybe? I mean, I do like 1.
4.
Okay.
The dark sun awakens. The palace is destroyed. You feel that this is a grand beginning as well as an end. Though you know intellectually that many have died, you also feel excitement for whatever comes next. Increased optimism, increased calculation. What do we do? Koss asks you. All around the capital, similar geysers of negative energy are erupting, the purple and black columns glowing in the night. Terrified screams and yells create a steady din. The smell of char and meat pervades the air. Increased vilification. You briefly cast a divination to determine the extent of the chaos, and see a vision of similar dark geysers erupting all over the kingdom. They seem to be concentrated where negative energy has been used the most. Where your power plants, now all destroyed, used to stand. Near the palace, at the site of the old sunken academy where you discovered your magic, and especially within Akraton, where you once performed so many magical experiments. But the geysers are erupting intermittently everywhere, as far as your vision extends. The dark sun, it seems, has been agitated into a state of frenzy. But you still know how to draw negation magic. You think you might be able to end this madness by drawing all the negative energy to yourself and shoving all the chaotic energy back into the dark sun. You would rapidly perish, but you could start a process that would heal the dark sun. You also see greater opportunities, however. Why let all this negative energy go to waste? You could attempt to become an immortal specter, just like the specter you met at the laboratory of the Sunken Academy. As you recall, the ritual required not just negation magic, but vivimancy and automation as well. It is somewhat tempting to live forever, albeit in a very different state of existence. More ambitiously, you could try to end the war immediately by shoving all this vented negative energy to the Magisterian side of the negative sea. You never attempted anything so bold, but the negative energy flowing all around you should give you greater power than anything you have ever held, if you can wield it successfully. If you have supreme confidence in your negation abilities, you could try concentrating all the negative energy into taller columns that reach the thunderclouds above and destroy them once and for all. Perhaps 2 wrongs can make a right, and this negative energy eruption can be used to scour the heavens. You draw negation energy into a great column around you and begin to cast what may be your final spell.
I called down the power of the heavens!
Heal the dark sun without using the negative energy for any additional purpose. Heal the world and become an immortal specter in the process. Harness this magic and destroy the Magisterian Empire. Use this magic to scour the heavens once and for all. It's all magic, baby.
I'm tempted by Immortal Spectre, but
what would we do? Sorry. Heal the dark sun without using the negative energy for any additional purpose. Heal the world.
Which will also kill us, for sure.
Heal the world and become an immortal specter in the process. Harness this magic and destroy the Magisterian Empire. Use this magic to scour the heavens once and for all. That's a valid question, Agent.
Yeah, they don't have a max. It just kind of keeps going up.
it's intentionally designed to look the way that it does.
Mm-hmm.
For exactly the reason you are suggesting now. I want us to know what we're good at, not necessarily if we're capable of everything.
I don't know.
What should I do? What will I finally do with this dark power? What has it been, what was I called to do? Tell me, Dark Sun, you wicked master, tell me!
I mean, it would be so, to a certain extent, it would be really narratively satisfying to be like, I take the darkness inside me and perish with it. But it's also sad. And our original intent was specifically to master negation magic because we wanted to use it to destroy the dark clouds that wandered. So, like, that's 4 is kind of an even bigger version of that.
We're talking about the magnetic storms in the sky caused by automation, not the clouds of horrendous black clouds that exist because of the negative C.
Yep.
So, not exactly. That doesn't mean it's not a good. That doesn't mean it's not a viable. It's not that it's not viable to our character. It's just that specific logic doesn't stand.
I mean, I said it's like that, but an even bigger thing because I think the storm is even worse.
I think it's like that, but a different thing. Personally, I'm saying I wouldn't. No, I have to be true to what I want. I have to be true to myself. I can't imagine loftier ambitions than I had. That would make me into some kind of hero. It's exactly what I'm not.
I'm not a hero. All this destruction. Man, I don't know. I do really like just being. Let's just blow up the whole other empire.
I mean, also that my hand was forced by a greater evil in this world.
If I am to be evil, then let it be in the service of preventing more evil.
If you want me to be completely honest, I think as far as the character we have constructed goes, the only one that doesn't make sense is 2. Huh. I don't think our character would for a second try to escape, just be like, I'll just become a specter and ride this out. He's too self-hating.
It'd be a way to get more power.
But it was always power for a purpose, even if that purpose was nebulous and completely delusional.
Mm-hmm.
It's the thin line that's kept him from thinking that he's a total monster. His last shred of humanity that he can hopefully salvage just in time, so that when he burns out, it's for a greater cause. A greater cause.
Yeah, I think it wouldn't... 1 almost works, but it's like, no, I wouldn't just throw it away for no reason.
Depends on how much. It would also depend on how mad he is at the Magisterian Empire, because that vengeful anger, absolutely, like, that character archetype loves vengeful anger. They love looking and saying, this could have been different. I was trying to make it change, but you... Perhaps you were the evil in this world all along. Perhaps the Dark Sun is a tool for erasing you. You know, I will kill everybody to save them from suffering sort of thing, except it's just your enemies.
Yeah, and we've been towing the line of, like, even... I think I vote 3. That's where I'm settling.
Okay. You said 3. Gaijin says 4. May hasn't said anything.
That's correct.
What's Gigi think?
She's out there with you.
Oh, she is?
Well, she's not in here.
Well, she's not in here.
She ran out as I was closing the door. That was her choice.
That was her choice. Choice of Gigi.
Gigi's destructive. Gigi would pick 3. I'm not just saying that because I would pick it. Gigi is a destructive force.
Huh? What's the Magisterian Empire? I'm gonna kill that thing.
They have chords?
2 chords, which is ironically the opposite of 4.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I will roll a die. That's what they're here for. Alrighty, righty. Rolling my dragon die to see what we will do. Agent, call it, odd or even. Four. What'd you say?
Agent said odd.
Oh.
Or what did I say? What is my choice? I chose harness the magic to destroy the Empire.
Yeah, I know. Well, 4 is an even number, Agent. The dice seem to have betrayed you this time.
Just when the last thing I truly wanted was to cause this destruction. Maybe it would have been good if fate had denied me this.
Where you see a disaster... Oh, you.
Where you see a disaster, I see an opportunity.
You tell Koss, increase optimism, increase calculation. An opportunity for what? Koss demands.
This.
You begin to channel dark energy, but you pull it from the geysers around you, which all begin to bend towards you. Negative energy begins to swirl faster and faster around you. You pull the gathered maelstrom away from you and down deep into the dark sun, blasting through the rock below blasting through the rock below you and deep into the crust of the world to reach the dark fire below. You spread your consciousness farther through the dark sun. I call forth the fires of hell and channel the energy into an underground stream. The stream heads towards the Magisterian Empire, extending 1 mile, then 2. You encounter some resistance, but it is no match for your skill in negation. You channel the last of your energy around you into the stream and towards the Magisterian Empire. You try to sense where the stream is going by casting a divination at the same time as you're channeling the negative energy.
Mysterion Nomai, Apocalyptical Amnis Tenebris.
Your skill in divination allows you to clearly sense where the negative energy should erupt on the Magisterian side. You spread tendrils of negative energy underneath the Magisterian Empire wherever you sense their bases. You are helped along by the fact that there is a disturbance under each one already, no doubt caused by the Magisterian's own use of negative energy. Your stream burst through the surface on the Magisterian side, obliterating each and every one of their bases and consuming the heart of their capital entirely. You have most thoroughly won this war. As you survey the giant crater where the palace once stood, you have to wonder what Queen Thekla would have thought of your fearsome success. Would she have approved of your brutal victory? As long as it meant lasting peace? How did you feel about your obliteration of the Magisterians? They had it coming. Maybe I got a bit carried away in the moment. I may never rid myself of all this guilt.
This isn't even. I mean, it's obviously 3.
I was already not gonna rid myself of my guilt. Now I've got even more guilt. It's just ridiculous.
By the way, this is, obviously, Chapter 9, The Worst Neighbor. You did what you thought was right in the moment, but now, the idea of all those dead Magisterians weighs you down from day to day. You can hardly speak to another living soul without thinking that you must have killed someone similar. increased empathy, increased solemnity. A funeral is held in the capital for the heroes who perished during the negative energy disaster. A small plot in the center of the palace is reserved for Sam. Sam's headstone is just inscribed with his name, and it is otherwise plain. Queen Thekla has a small memorial nearby as well, though her family plot lies elsewhere. Thekla's memorial is strewn with white lilies, and someone has left a tiny glass figurine, a princess, in the middle of the flowers. With you are Koss and Vance, likewise mourning the dead. You say a few words about your departed friends.
Sam, you always seem too good for this world. I hope wherever you've got going for you now is what you always hoped it would be. You deserve it. Even if you sometimes had to carry out orders from the church I disagreed with, I could tell you would never let anything really bad happen to me if you could help it. I'm sorry it ended this way. Thekla, I'm sorry I let you down. I know you care deeply about your responsibilities, and you're always willing to put the kingdom's future above your own. I suppose this is how that plays out, with you dead, but the kingdom safe from the neighbors. You always seemed alone, and I wish I could have helped you with that somehow. It must have been hard being responsible for everyone, but having so few friends. For what it's worth, I counted you as one. Goodbye, both of you.
And then, life has to move on. In the wake of the Queen's death, it is discovered in the Queen's will that you are indeed her named heir. You are crowned King Vex in an elaborate coronation ceremony in the cathedral, attended by all the most important nobles in the kingdom. As mayor of a major town, Koss attends, wearing an orange formal uniform that makes him stand out in the crowd. His applause is enthusiastic. Hierophant Elizabeth performs much of the ceremony, looking vaguely alarmed the whole time. When you are called, when you are called on, when you're called on to give a speech to your subjects, you tell them to expect a brighter future, and that the road to that future will be paved with magic. It's not the best metaphor, you realize as soon as the words escape your lips, but at least it's upbeat. Indeed, you can tell there's a general excitement in the air, and people seem very ready to follow you anywhere. The Hierophant declares you king, and the nobles applaud. You can't quite believe it's all real, but there it is. With the palaces in both capitals destroyed, you decide to move the capital to Akroton, where you have always felt more comfortable and can visit your family often. Hey, Tal! I moved the capital here! Do you want to hang out? Tal! Tal! Please! Tal!
I know you didn't like my use of negation magic, and I know that it kind of looks like you might have been right.
And I know that it kind of looks like I might have just used the biggest negation magic possible to cause a giant negation crater just several miles east of us. But it's fine.
It's fine.
What do you do about the Magisterian Empire and their nobles in the long term? Occupy them, and make their government less dangerous. Then let them return to being the Magisterian Empire. Spread the influence of the Church in their former empire. Use the existing Magisterian power structure to conquer the Domitians, Irenia's old enemies across the sea.
Well, we haven't really heard a lot about those. Definitely not 3, right? Like, that seems wrong.
We aren't. I mean, it depends. Do we think that as we have fallen into our success channeling negation, do we now feel more compelled to exert the influence of peace for those around you? I guess what I mean to say is, if I stop here, what's to say another Magisterian Empire won't crop up? If that's the case, then at least it should be me. Or they're no longer of any import to me. This is over. I'll leave them to lick their wounds.
There
And
will
hopefully we
always
can
be
move on.
There will always be fights somewhere,
I
somehow.
mean,
We can't fight all of
we've
them.
been Sasuke this whole time. Of course we're a JRPG villain.
Yeah.
We've been in black robes, emitting horrible negative clouds of death around us, talking like this to everyone. And speaking of our deep self-loathing and our deep our wish to absorb the darkness around us because we're the only ones who can take it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kill Naruto
Yeah.
with negation magic.
Yeah. That's not that far off from how Naruto ends.
If only I had used negation magic to kill him. Then maybe one of the girls could have kept being a ninja.
I don't know. I just don't think. What do I know about the Domitians?
Not much. They are the enemy across the sea.
That's really, I think, what's tripping me up here is I don't know what they are.
I mean, Gage, what story doesn't end with people teaming up to fight a tree lady? The answer to that is No More Heroes 3, because Travis teams up with the tree lady.
Okay, I mean like the first half of Naruto. Everybody stopped watching then anyway.
Yeah,
I'm not
Gage,
counting the post-time skip stuff that has a different subtitle.
there's a tree lady in Sailor Moon. She's evil. Kind of. It's complicated. Thanks, maid.
I knew it was called that, but Trap Sprung. Gotcha.
Oh, trap sprung on all of you. I know so fucking little about Naruto. Even after Frank told me the ending of apparently only one part of it.
Yeah, the second half is a different name. That's a different thing. It's a different show. Anyways, yeah, I'm tempted to pick 3, but I just don't know a lot about the Domitians. Domitians.
I'll put it this way. They are... we do know them to be old enemies of Irenia. They were basically the only threat that the Queen mentioned when it came to anybody... What with the negative C up and the Magisterians like out of it. Like they've only ever had to deal with some country beyond the mountains to the west, and their enemies across the sea.
Well, if the Queen said they're an enemy, then maybe that is justification enough. Because I'm not against the idea of us gradually turning to the evil warlord we're destined to be. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. Too bad I don't have any.
No, that's all I
guess
have.
I won't. Or that's all I have.
That's all I have, but I walk into hell anyway. Because someone has to. Well, they're too busy arguing about anime.
Oh my god, they sure are. Well...
It all depends.
We can't let this...
There's also... There is another thing, I suppose, we haven't considered. But what would Koss think?
Koss probably wouldn't want us to start another war.
I don't know. Do I do it despite that, to save him? Or do I save him from being hurt now? I don't know. I don't know! Dark Sun, why?
He's yelling at the Dark Sun again. Do we tell somebody or do we just keep standing guard? That's really unsettling.
I'm honestly just going to, be watching some of those hot babes on the divination mirror. So I don't know if that helps you one way or the other, or neither, or both, but there is also that to consider. We did marry Koss.
Did marry Koss.
The only remaining joy in our life.
Yeah. Maybe that's what stops us from becoming a terrible evil warlord.
All we know now are Koss, who we're married to, and still only have a very good relationship to. Vance, who you threw out and then scolded into shutting down a magic school, only to then make him start a different magic school. And Tal, who was right about everything.
God knows where Tal is. I think we don't start a war. Maybe that's our character development, is we don't start a war now.
Wow, we've grown so far.
We've grown so much. So yeah, that's a vote for one, I think is.
Okay. You decide the kingdom does not need to rule a foreign empire, only tame it. You write a new constitution for the Magisterians that severely limits the power of the High Magisters and cap the size of the military. After that, you grant the Magisterians independence, increased empathy. Some of the kingdom protest that you were disrespecting the sacrifices made by the troops in conquering the empire, increased vilification. But it's a move that ultimately should make both Iranians and Magisterians happier. It occurs to you that you may well now have the power to disperse the negative C once and for all. Would you like to? Yes. Use the negation to disperse the whole sea. No. Keep a barrier between the kingdom and the Magisterian Empire. We don't have enough
automation.
Yeah.
I guess. Or enough airships.
I mean, I guess we also don't have factories anymore since they all exploded in the negative energy eruption.
That makes sense. I mean, yeah. This... yes. This is why I learned negation to begin with. To remove negation from the world.
That's right.
Look how that turned out.
Your power in negation has grown great enough to control huge swaths of the negative sea at a time. You can pull the threads of the giant black clouds until you find one that makes a whole mile of cloud unravel and disperse. Over the course of months, you do this to the whole negative sea. As you do, you gain a significant entourage who watch you work. Every time a gigantic cloud dissipates, you earn a round of applause from onlookers. Finally, the people of Irania begin to see that negation can be used for good. Increased adoration.
To get rid of other negation, mostly, but yeah.
With the negative sea gone, normal trade can resume between the Magisterian Empire and Irania. Goods and people begin to flow, and both civilizations begin to believe their differences are not so great after all. Increased adoration. You attend a gigantic party in Akraton, celebrating your achievement. The death clouds are no more!
Yeah!
Who's got a lot of luck? We do! We never knew what Vex could do! We just rehearsed this Brenniverse, for all our dreams come true. You settle into married life with Koss. A constant topic of conversation between you and Koss after you get married is that he doesn't have a lot of time as mayor, and perhaps you may want to do something else with your time together besides raise a child. What do you decide? I'd rather teach Koss magic. I'd rather fly around exploring new places. I mean, I do want to adopt a child. I'd rather teach Koss magic. I'd rather fly around exploring new places. I do want to adopt a child.
Koss seemed terribly enthusiastic about magic, but
Well, he was
tried,
interested,
and-
but said he
yeah,
didn't have an aptitude
that's true.
for it. He tried to teach himself, and it didn't really happen. If I could just... Maybe Koss will understand. Maybe he'll understand if he can do what I can do, even if just a little. But I saved this world for him. Perhaps we should just fly the skies like he would want. I'm not even going to entertain the idea of adopting a child.
yeah, that doesn't seem right.
What? And condemn them to die? Like so many in my life?
Yeah,
do we do?
I think flying.
You and Koss go on many flights around Irenia, as well as some trips to unexplored archipelagos. In addition to beautiful waterfalls, chasms, fjords, and peaks, you discover old bunkers of the ancients with many delightful devices that it will take a long time for the two of you to puzzle out. You enjoy your long conversations with Koss about how it all came to be. Gamed automation. Gamed ancient history. After everything, Tal decides to become a vigilante, hunting Twilight Band members. Tal learns enough automation magic to animate Noodles whenever she goes adventuring. Noodles acts as the sidekick and somehow even figures out how to perform martial arts attacks while charged with electricity. Given recent events, Vance swears off magic entirely and decides to go back to the university. He's a model student and is concentrating in accounting. Your golem continues to be your faithful servant, helping you in every magical endeavor with an agreeable...
Oh, right. Cetere Dominix.
Close enough. Hats continue to be popular in the capital, thanks to you. The power plants and factories that ran on negative energy all exploded during the Dark Sun's uprising, leaving large clouds of negative residue where they stood. These large death clouds would continue to roam the countryside for a long time, killing livestock and people who can't get away. Increased vilification. Would you like to try switching the kingdom to a new source of power? Yes, research how to create factories and airships with automation. Yes, research how to create magical beasts and breed dragons. No, we'll learn to live with what we have.
Now that I've done my ultimate...
Yeah.
I think it's no.
Wow. Blessed Advisor Gaijin has something to say, I guess.
No, I learned negation magic for me and for purposes, but it's not something. It needs to end with me too.
By which I mean, yes, we should research magical beasts, or maybe I'm not sure. We're not good at it, but I think we should be like,
The kingdom has to do something that we never would. We can't be the light. We remain the darkness. Everything else has to be the light.
Are you saying 2?
I think I'm saying 2.
I think Gaijin's leaning 3.
It's not clear what no actually means when Gaijin says it in this context, but I think you're right.
Dice time! Call it, Frank!
Oh, even.
1.
Well, All right then.
We'll learn to live with what we have.
They came back for you, Gagent. The dice. Or I guess rather, the die. I only used one. Perhaps magic is not the solution to the kingdom's problems. In fact, lately it's been the source of the source of the problems instead. You decide to let the kingdom adjust to the magic it already has first, and a plan your advisors think is very wise. Increased adoration.
Please don't cast any more spells, sir.
If you have to, just make a divination. Like it was fun when we made the dancers and singers like appear on the other side of the country. Could you just do that?
You just have more television.
You find that the ruling of a kingdom is a complex affair, full of tiny decisions from day to day. But you would like to leave some lasting legacy as ruler of Irenia. What would you like to be known for? Modernize the kingdom's infrastructure, creating a rail system, running water, and more. Requires automation. Create an unrivaled system of public education. I lift up the poor, the weak, the needy.
I think 4.
I've done it. I harnessed the darkness. I turned back death itself. And now, I can finally look out for the little guy. Like I was trying to the whole time. You see, Naruto? You were wrong! This was the way. I was the only one with the stomach to accept it.
Negation magic is praxis, I think. I don't know what praxis is, but I think that's
You do everything you can to make sure the kingdom serves those who can't help themselves. Creating halfway houses, reducing taxes on the poor to nothing, reforming bankruptcy law, and protecting the poor from eviction if they can still work. Increased empathy. It's your proudest non-magical legacy. On the whole, you make a very competent ruler, although you somehow never quite managed to become a popular one.
I mean, he does still wear those creepy fucking robes.
Hello, it is I, your king!
Oh, hey. We were just talking about all your good policies, but now that you're right next to me, it's kind of like maybe I'm reconsidering.
Do not let my presence negate your conversation. One day, in the capital, you sense something is wrong. Feeling your environment by drawing on the 5 magics, you sense that the dark sun is restless beneath the capital yet again. You further sense it being agitated by someone else. You forcefully quell the disturbance using your own control of negative energy, then drive the energy all the way back to the rebels doing the disrupting. You have a brief sense that it was Magisterian partisans, wanting revenge for the destruction of their own capital. They are consumed in geysers of negative energy.
Amateurs.
You sniff. Increased calculation.
If I may.
Pathetic.
Nice! Then it slowly begins to dawn on you that you are the single most powerful person in the world. Everyone lives by your sufferance and mercy. The thought makes you smile.
Oh, nice.
I've done it. I've wrested enough power to finally bring order to this hateful, cruel world. And I could trust it, because it was me. Me who did it. Me. I'm a fascist guy. We hope you've enjoyed playing Choice of Magics.
Oh, I don't see that. There you go.
I'm powerful now, and that's good. I'm the good guy, by which I mean I'm not the good guy. I'm
But
no
I'm the
hero.
guy that, they got. I already Maid, I've already joined the email list. Come on, it's me we're talking about here. Of course I rated 10 every time, and of course I joined the email list the first chance I got, because I do want to be told about new games in this series.
But would our character join the email list?
Yes.
No, I don't check my email that much, so I try to keep it clean. I'll just go look at their website periodically. I prefer to keep myself up to date.
I'll say yes to be polite, but then, redirect it to my spam folder.
I mean, I will play the other games. It's just I don't need the email to remind me.
Well, there is the choice of magics, everybody. At least one way that it could go. There are many, many things that we have not seen yet. And I believe that I'm going to stream this again soon. Probably with somebody else as a co-pilot. Maybe somebody a little more whimsical. Maybe somebody a little more...
I'm whimsical.
Obnoxious.
Okay. That's gonna be hard, but...
Maybe somebody who constantly tries to make terrible bits at the beginning of every podcast episode that they're in.
Oh, that's not me. I usually try and skip straight to the topic.
Yeah, or at the very least, once it's already happening, you cut it off with a very abrupt, and here's what's not really a bit, in order to just segue right into the topic.
Once the bit is going, I'm like, I'm gonna let this go until it just sort of peters out, because I know that whoever's doing this doesn't have an end.
Oh no, it's me. Maid, I would, but you wouldn't, so... Alright, everybody. Have a magic night. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you for choosing Magics.